Okay, we're on the back nine at Wolf Creek. Possibly some of the easiest holes on WGT. I'm going to get here. If I'm on sort of 5 or 6 under, then I'm certainly hoping to make double figures. So the tee shot, fairly straightforward. Just get it up there as far as you can. If the pin's up the back, and unfortunately it's not, so I won't be able to show the shot I wanted to. But I usually find somewhere around here is a good place to be wherever the pin is. So just get your drive away safely. If you're worried about the sand traps on the left, then just go right. Just go up to the right. Doesn't really matter. Doesn't really make any difference.
Good ball.
Now if the pin's in the normal position, because I see it's at the front of the green on this occasion, if the pin is normally up here. Now if you're confident with your distances and your ball and your ability to get there, then by all means go for it. If you've got any fear about going long or ending up in this trap, stick your ball up here. It's a fairly easy shot to get it onto the centre of the green, and what you'll have is an uphill putt to the pin at the back. So you should, in the worst case, you'll have an outside chance of a birdie. Otherwise, you'll have an easy putt to set up your par. So, if you're any doubt, stick it on here. However, the pin's at the front today for this one, so we'll do a calculation. So we've got 178. Let's call it 180. 22 foot up. So I would times the 22 by 3 and divide by 10. So that's 66, that's 6.5. So say 180 plus 6.5, let's say 186 is the distance with the elevation. Now we've got a 13 to 15 wind against us. So it's almost in our face. So I'm going to take the middle figure, which is 14. I'm going to half that, which is 7, which gives me 7%. So it's 7% of 186. Which by a rough calculation is about 13. So 13 onto 186 is 200. So given that it's not directly in our face, I'm just going to go slightly less than 200. A little bit of backspin, which I always put on it, as you know. No boom boom, but I'm expecting this to be up there. Yeah, probably overestimated somewhere there. But we're on the green, we're safe enough, and this one hopefully is if it's not a birdie, then it's definitely a par. So again, I put my finger on the mobile, put my finger on there. I have a look up there. I can see that there's really no movement in those dots, so it's going to be pretty straight. So 15 would be 15 on the meter minus the 6.7. We're only going to take the 6 off, so we're going to go 9 and try and hit the ding.
Great roll.
Happy with that. So the second hole, again, I'm annoyed that it's these weird pin positions. I never know which set is which, but normally the pin would be up here. I think it's about exactly about there. And for me, if it's 216. Then my default figure in a neutral wind is 190. If you go 190, you're going to be close enough where you'll have a birdie putt, but you'll certainly get a par. So subject to the wind, if it's on this hole, it's 216. 190 should be your default figure. However, down here, so we've got, let's call it 200. So we've got 69 foot downhill, so that should be, let's call it 70. 4 times 70 is 280, divided by 10 is 28. So we need to take 28 off of 196, so let's call that 170. We've got a reasonably strong wind behind us. Now my normal calculation for that would be to divide it by 5 and times it by 2, but I won't complicate this on this occasion. So it's 170 with a 12 to 14 wind behind. 12 to 14 probably is about 4%. Another 4% I would take off. So 170, 4% of 170 is about 6. So we're looking at 164. So I've got a club that goes 165, so we'll just hit 165 and see where that gets us. It's the ding a little bit, but it's the distance that we're looking for here. So I could have done with a little bit more, but that's fine. So I'm on the fringe. Because it's fairly straight and because it's also reasonably close, I'm going to putt this rather than pitch it. Now, if you're on the fringe, depending how far you think you are on the fringe, you've got to give it a little bit extra. I'm sure you all know that. So normally this would be 11, take off 2 would be 9. So I'm going to leave it at 11. There you go. Sometimes it just works. Okay, so this hole it should be a guaranteed birdie, and there's a good opportunity, particularly when the wind's like this, for an eagle. Even though again the pin is in, not the normal position. So just want to get your drive away. If you've got any worries about ending up in here, then stick it right over here. Know how far your driver can go, so that you don't end up in the rough up here. But really, most people should be this should be your aim point in here. Okay, now if you get in
That's
there,
a huge drive.
You're going to be, even if you're a bit shorter down here, you're still going to have about 200 yards to get up here. Now, if the pin's up the back where it normally is, then if you're worried about going in this lake, and that's a genuine fear, you can afford to aim right over this side, because once it gets up here, it slopes left to right, so it will come back a little bit. And particularly if it gets up, there's a ridge up here. If it gets up on this ridge, it will go up and it will come round like a banana. So you can afford to add, when you're playing this shot, do your calculation, and you can afford to add, let's say 3 yards. I'm going 3 yards, depends how much backspin you use on a ball, but 3 to 5 yards I would add to make sure I get it up here, because if it goes long, as I say, there's a ridge here which should bring it back. But as I say, if you're worried about ending up in here, or you regularly end up in here, then you can afford to go right over here, because anything on here or even down here is okay. But we're down here today for this one. So we're 192. We haven't really got not much going on in terms of the elevation there, so I'm not going to add anything. 10 to 12%, that would that would be 4% for me to take off. So 4% of 190 is going to be about 7. So it's a reasonably strong wind behind. And the trouble is, if you go for this directly, you've got this knuckle here. So I'm going to go 195 with very little spin, and I'm just going to try and get it up there, give myself at least a chance with an eagle putt. Get it on the green, eagle putt or a safe birdie. So there, I'm on the green. I'm a bit long. I'm not sure why. Obviously got my calculations wrong there. I think I added rather than subtracted for the wind. But never mind. I've got an eagle putt. So it's 33. So normally the calculation would be 33 minus 8 gives you 25. It's quite a long downhill, so I'm only going to go 24. And I'm going to play the infamous missed ding, just to try to take some of that break out. Too much. But you can see that how far that went, because 8 coming downhill over that distance is going to mess up your normal calculation. But hopefully we're going to get away with the birdie. Okay, now we all know this hole. So there are several ways of playing it. You can bash it onto the green in the hope you're going to get an eagle. Now I can count on one hand the number of eagles I've had on this hole. I've had more bogeys than I've had eagles, so that risk is not really worth it for an eagle. If you're confident about where your driver goes and where you're driving, then of course getting on the green anywhere is going to increase your chances of making the birdie. So if you're confident, you go up here and you try and land it near the pin. The second option, and the easier option, if you're reasonably confident with your driver that you're going to get across, stick it down here, because up there is an uphill putt, and it's not a bendy putt, it's a fairly straight putt. So if you can get it down here, then you're going to have another good chance of 2-putting for a birdie. If you really don't like this shot, then just stick it down here. That's going to be perhaps a slightly less 3-wood, but anywhere down here, and you're going to have a wedge to the green, and an outside chance of a birdie, but a guarantee of a par. There's no point taking a risk if you're not confident, and you're going to lose a ball. So there's nothing wrong with just sticking it down here. And in fact, for illustrative purposes, well, I'm gonna stick it down there, and so that you can see what you can do. So it's not going to be a full, possibly even a 3-iron for me, but from here we'll just stick it down there. So there you are. It's 100 to the pin from the middle of there. So it's not going to be the most difficult shot in the world. So we've got 100. We've got 33 uphill. So we times that by 3 gives us 100. So divide that by 10. So that gives us an extra 10. So we've got 110. Now I know that 10 to 12 against is an extra 10 yards. So we're going to go 120 for this. I missed the ding a bit. There, we're up close, you know, and this should be a 2-putt easy par. Whereas, you know, if you've gone for it and you've hit those rocks, you're staring at a bogey or a double bogey. Quite a difficult putt, but you know, you should be able to get it close. So it's 14. It's 8 down, so it'd be 6. But because we're going uphill to start with, I'm going to go 6.5. Definitely one where you need a missed ding to try and give it a bit of control. A little bit annoying, but certainly don't hit it too hard, otherwise you'll roll back down the hill. Yeah, so it's an easy par, you know. So if it's a hole where you know you're not confident and you've lost some balls, then no need to take any chances. Just settle for the par. So this one, again, this is important for you to know how far your driver carries. I mean, mine is 285, so that's probably 280. So it's 320. Down 103 foot, so 103 times 4 is 400, divided by 10 is 40, so take 40 off 320 is 280. So that's about the carry distance of my ball. So with the wind we've got, I'm going to leave it here in the hope that it ends up somewhere there. But again, if the wind is awkward, or you're uncomfortable with your distance, there's no problem sticking it round about here, or even in the worst case, just driving it straight up here, because you're still going to, in fact, you get a better angle in on the green from up here. So there's no need to take a risk if you're not confident about where your drive's going to go.
That's a huge drive.
Okay, so the important thing for your next shot is just to make sure you get it on the green. You don't want to be leaving it in this bunker. So I always tend to go a little bit longer, end up here. You know, it's a slight downhill putt from there, but longer with full backspin is always good. So it's 100, 23 uphill, times that by 3 is 69, say 70, divide by 10 is 7. So looking at adding 7, so that's 105. Now we've got a good wind behind us, so I'm going to let the wind take the extra distance, so that I'm a little bit longer. So we're going to go 105 and let the wind hopefully carry it onto the back of the green. Okay, and again, you know, you've got a birdie putt opportunity, and the worst case it's going to be a par. So the important thing is to get on the green. And again, because of the downhill here, the normal calculation would be 20 minus 9, which gives you 11. But because it's, you know, 8 is a lot coming down, so I'd take another one off of that. So I'm going to go with 10. It's a slight double breaker. You can see up here it starts off going right, and then down here it comes back left. So we said 10. I'll give it 10. Oh, they are. There's, for a change, the calculation would have worked, but never mind. So again, you know, straightforward straightforward par. And that's all the, to me, that's all the difficult holes out the way. These last 4 holes you can just enjoy because they offer good birdie opportunities. So, calculation for this one would be 130. The 33 times by 4 gives you 130-ish. Divide by 10 is 13. So we would take 13 off 130, which gives us 117. We've got a wind behind, and I'm going to take another 4 off for the wind. So 113 is the figure I'm going to use. Now this green, unfortunately, doesn't always play to calculation, but I'm sure most of you hopefully have got a calculation written down that you use on this. For me, so if you look on here on my notebook, I've got various calculations, but they're all based on the pin being at the front. So if you have the notebook, that's what I do, is I put reminders, if you like, of shots that I've played before that I can refer to and compare when I play again. But I don't have any for the 130, so let's see what the calculation does. What did I say? 113, I think I said. So halfway, so 95% is 114. I'm going to go 113. And it's obviously worked. It's going to be reasonably close. Could have been closer. But we've got a chance from there of a birdie. So uphill, the break's not going to be quite as much as it would be on a downhill. So it's 9 plus 1 is 10. I'm going to go just over 10. And we're not putting very well today. Okay. So this hole, again, great birdie opportunity. Just whack it down there as far as you can get it. Now, because this one's the approach shot is downhill, I always find you have to take a couple of yards off the shot. So the calculation, when it comes up, I'm probably going to get a, oh, here we are. So it's 89, 15 downhill, so that's 4 times 15 is 60, divided by 10 is 6, so it would be 83. So normally I would do 83 plus 6, because that's my default with my wedge, which would be 89. But I'm going to take a couple off, because as I say, it's a downhill, it seems to play a little bit shorter. So what did I say, 83 plus 6, 89, take off 2 is 87. Now that wind, again, I know is going to be about 8 or 9 yards, so we're looking at probably 95 with that wind. So I got the distance right, just a little bit of a miss with the aiming. So it's a fairly flat green, this. So if you can get anywhere close, then you've got a chance of making the birdie.
Solid putt.
Okay, now this is this is another hole which should really be a good birdie opportunity. It's not really much danger. You just got to get it as far up as you can from your tee shot. Just make sure you obviously end up on the fairway, but there's plenty of scope for missing the ding right or left. Oh, and there you go. That's what happens when you don't concentrate. Don't think I've ever been here, so this will be interesting. Okay, dirt. Dirt has got me flummoxed. Never been in this position before. So I'm not going to waste the ball. I'm going to stick it over here, because where the pin is, hopefully the pin's not going to be there when we play the Super League. I'm not quite sure how the ball behaves out of dirt, so we're going to find out something new. We're not going to go too far. We'll go 150 in the expectation that it'll be about 140. Oh, there you go. Dirt obviously doesn't affect it too much. Now, normally, on your second shot, i.e. the one just before that, the pin's going to be back up here. And again, you need to, well, I find, and I would recommend, that you add an extra 3 or 4 yards to your calculation, because this sits in a little bowl. So even if you're long, it's going to stop and even roll back a little bit here. You can afford, again, if you're worried about this bunker, you can afford to aim on the left side of the green, because it rolls in that way. And if as long as you get it on the green, you should be getting your birdie. So we're going to try and get it this way. So we're 50, we've got a wind behind us, so I'm going to trust that the wind will do its job. I'm going to go 49 with backspin. And the wind did do its job. So we're at least going to get our birdie out of it. And that's, that's with a, well, for me, an awful tee shot. And you could, if you're really not confident, that route that I've just taken to play to that bit in front of the water of the green, you could play that shot. You're confident with your wedges. You can go that way, but there really shouldn't be any too much difficulty getting on the green in 2. Now this hole, I always used to, every time I would play it here, in order to then just chip on for the birdie. If you've got a favourable wind and you're confident with your driver, you can go for the green. As I say, you've got to have a favourable wind. That wind that I've got there is not favourable, and I'm not going to get there with that wind. So we're just going to lay up, and this is a shot that I would recommend for the majority of occasions. To get a good chance of a birdie is just to stick it up here. You don't have to go right up to the edge, because you're still going to have less than 100 yards. It's another awful tee shot. So
That's in the garden spot.
I'm well back from the edge of that fairway, so I didn't take any risks overshooting this, and I've still only got 71 yards. So it's a fairly easy green once you get onto it. So it's 71, uphill 8, so add a couple on for the 8, it's 73. Now again, I know that wind is round 12 to 14, anything 10 to 14, any of those combinations against you is going to require an extra 10 or 11 yards. So we're going to go, let's say 73, with that wind, an extra 10, 83, to get us onto the green. 583. And that's not the worst outcome. We'll take a gimme.